I'm getting the hang of the Zoom thing. So, like Sonali said, I'm Laysuna, and I'm going to talk to you today about behavior and cognition, and how they are different, but they do have a relationship with each other. And I'll talk a little bit about that. Oh, so a lot of you guys here have probably thought about what it is that your dog is thinking. So, like, what are they seeing? What are they smelling? And just in general, what is going on in their head. And so, with dog cognition and just dog science in general, we actually have a lot of ways we can answer all your questions, or try to at least. So, how do we try to answer these questions? So, first, we have to, in order to figure out what it is that our dogs are thinking, our dogs aren't able to talk to us and tell us what it is in words that we understand, what it is that they're thinking. So, the way we do this is through their behavior. And behavior is anything you can see your dog doing. It can be the way your dog reacts, that would be behavior. So, think actions for behavior, anything you can see. And then from all these behaviors, we can infer what it is that they're thinking. And so this is cognition. And when we talk about cognition, we are literally thinking about how it is that your dog is acquiring this information. So what is it that your dog sees and how do they see? What is it that your dog smells and how do they smell? And then and then the next step of that would be, okay, how does your dog process this information? So if your dog is sniffing another dog's butt, and and it's processing it in this like weird in this way in their brain, we want to know what that process is and how that ultimately affects their thought and their which is represented in their actions. So in other words, how your dog uses that information. So you kind of see how behavior and cognition is kind of both separate but also related. So behavior is what you can see and cognition is what you can't see, but we can still figure that out through what it is that we can see. So there is a back and forth, and then we just have all these factors that affect both behavior and cognition. So the social interactions your dog has every day, your genetics of your dog. So this could include breed differences, training, and this is just really interactions between you and your dog and what you teach your dog. And of course, things in the environment, things your dog sees every day, or all the new things your dog sees. All this will affect both behavior, and therefore it will also affect their cognition and the way they learn and the things they know. So just to kind of summarize what all that is and what both behavior and cognition brings to the field is a lot of what we know about dogs is heavily behavior based. So if you think about temperament testing, that's behavior. And that is when basically you have people look at your dog and try to as best as they can to objectively describe what it is that the dog is doing. But the thing is, whenever you have people kind of coming in and saying, like, oh, like that dog is happy, or that dog is sad, or that dog is angry, this always gets to be kind of muddy because it's very subjective. So, what one person sees as a happy dog, another person may not see as a happy dog. And there's really no concrete way to say for certain, like, this dog is happy or this dog is upset. But then when we look at cognition, we try to take away all those questions of like, well, is it happy? Is it sad? And we do this by having solid measures. So anything that is like the duration of time or like the amount of times your dog will do X behavior. So we just really want to put a number to all these behaviors. That way, there is no question of like whether if your dog is this or that. It's your dog does it or your dog doesn't do it, and then we collect all this data, and then we just kind of figure out what it is that is going on inside your dog's head. So this is why when we study cognition, what we're really doing is we have the same goal as studying behavior. We want to improve our dog's welfare. We just want to have very objective measures and be very certain that when we are saying one thing, we really mean that one thing. And so that's kind of what cognition brings into the behavior aspect of it. It just kind of makes it more concrete and makes it more like, you can't really question it. Like it's just to be more certain of what it is that we know what our dog is doing and how our dog is feeling and how everything affects them. Hope that was clear. So why do we want to learn about dog cognition? So even though it is a relatively new field, we have actually learned a lot about dogs. And with all this understanding, we can figure out what it is that our dog's unique needs are. So every dog is an individual. So if we talk about breed differences, if you have a sight hound versus a scent hound, they're going to have, just thinking about their breed specific needs, they're going to have very specific and unique enrichment um, abilities. So a sighthound might not be very interested in scent games and vice versa. So then when we talk about enrichment, these are the things we also want to keep in mind in order to keep their brains active because of these breed differences. What one dog might find enriching, another dog might not. And then finally, a lot of things that dog cognition has actually revealed is the differences between normal cognitive decline and cognitive dysfunction, which may actually impact your dog's everyday life. So, by understanding how your dog can age gracefully, we can kind of keep an eye on their welfare and their health and their just overall well being. So, we learned a lot this, I hope you guys learned a lot this week about ways you guys can improve your dog's welfare. And a lot of this was through diets, through positive reinforcement training, but sometimes it could be just as easy as things lying around your house and just you playing with your dog. And so that's what these cognition games are. They're meant to be fun, easy ways to not only learn more about your dog, but also to help your dog by giving them these really specific challenges to see one, how they do, and what it is that excel at, what they may or may not like, or what they may want to improve on. So the goal of these cognition games really is to reveal your dog's underlying cognitive processes by giving them these challenges and letting them just kind of go at it. And so these games kind of do this in two ways. We can, one, evaluate their cognition. So in terms of like memory, where is it that they stand? And this can do with their age. This once again can do with their breed. This can do with their training. And so you can kind of use all this feedback and take it back to your training or the way you interact with your dog. And then that leads us into the second point of these games. They do kind of support and improve their cognition. So there are certain cognition games that have shown to improve over the lifespan of your dog, and not only improve, but dogs who consistently play these games actually perform better than dogs who have played it of the same age matched dogs who played it for the first time. And so what that potentially tells us is that this experience of playing these games actually strengthen those bonds. And it's kind of like with us, right? So if we don't use our brains, we kind of start losing our brain cells, generally speaking. So the general principles of these games are also, in terms of welfare, is that your dog generally does like to work and it's good for their brain. So this idea of conscious freeloading, they don't just want food to be given to them, they kind of want to work for it. It kind of almost like makes that food even more rewarding. And then we also want to really encourage them to use cognitive skills that maybe they won't generally use, they won't really focus on from a day-to-day basis. And that's fine, but it's also important to kind of strengthen it as well. Just because it helps them try new things, it teaches them how to problem solve, and also just learning how new ways to interact with their environment, which is also really enriching. And with these games, they always get rewarded. So we always want the dogs to feel happy. We always want them to stay motivated. We want them to always come back and even ask us to play with them. So they're constantly getting rewarded no matter what. There are no wrong answers. And we're really not judging them on their abilities. This is just information for us so we can understand what it is that our dog needs and what it is that they like and how we can provide that for them. Cool. So let's play a game. So today we're going to play a really, really general game to find out how it is that your dog approaches a difficult problem. And this is actually a really common study that a lot of dogs do. And this ranges from wolves. And by dogs, I mean all canines. So wolves, free-ranging dogs, shelter dogs, pet dogs, they have all played these games. So you will need, I'm going to give everyone like a second to gather all your materials, but I believe Sonali had given out an email, so you should have these materials. You basically need 3 containers that can hide a treat that your dog can easily get. So an example would be a bowl, and what we would do, we would just hide a treat underneath and we just put the bowl over it. Same way you could have a cup. Same thing, you would just hide the treat underneath it. So these are also really good containers. You could also have a box, and we're just going to leave that box open. So all your dog really has to do is kind of nose it. So these are really good examples of these easy containers. And then we're going to have one difficult container. And this difficult container is a container that should be sealed completely. So it could be anything from a Tupperware with a lid that you can lock on tight. I actually also have, this is like a reusable bottle, but I can seal it. So I could put a treat in there and then we just seal it in. So this is gonna be my difficult bottle. And then of course you want to have lots of treats. You need at least 4, so 1 treat per container. And then you might have to have a couple of extra just to motivate your dog if they don't seem super interested in the 4 containers initially. Oh, and then just a timer, and I usually just use my phone for this. Is everyone good for this part? I'm just gonna move on. If everyone has their materials, I'm gonna move on to the next part, and we're gonna start to set up and hopefully get to play this game. So first, we're actually going to have our dogs leave the room. So there's absolutely no cheating. So either have your dog leave the room or have them in a place where they can't see you setting this up.
Listen, I'm just going to chime in really quick. So if you guys want to follow along, this is not compulsory to follow along. First of all, you can just watch today. But also, if you guys want, you can turn on your video so that Lasuna can help you sort of run through the game. So we often do that, and it's just kind of funny to watch also. But
no, this is an interesting one. Dogs get silly.
Yeah, so feel free to do that, but there is no obligation, but it will be probably helpful for you to do that if you chose to do it. So I'll let her walk you through the instructions. So back to you, Lasuna.
Okay, so if everyone has your materials, we're gonna start with our dogs, once again, outside the room or someplace they can't really interfere while we are setting this up so they can't see any of the answers. So once your dog has left the room, what you're going to do is hide 1 treat in each of the containers. So like I said, for the easy containers, you're basically making this super easy. Your dog really has to do basically 1 action to get the treat. So if it's the cup, just have your cup upside down on the treat. So all you have to do is knock it over. And then for your sealable one, once again, just make sure your treat is tightly closed inside, and the goal is your dog will not be able to get this treat inside the heart container. And then once your treats are hidden in all your containers, you could just set them up in 1 row. So when your dog walks into the room, they're going to be able to see all 4 containers in 1 row. You could set them about 3 feet apart, or about like 1 arm's length is what I usually do, or like half a step. I have like little steps, so you just don't want them too far apart. 3 feet is perfectly fine, or even less is okay too, because we're all stuck in small New York apartments. And then once you're set up, we're not going to let our dogs in just yet. I'm just going to run you down what to expect. So before you bring your dog in, so before you bring your dog in, just know that you can give your dog, when they come in, 1 word of encouragement. So something like look, or like pop, look, and then point to the direction of the containers. For the whole game, you're basically going to be available to your dog, and by available meaning you're going to be facing in their direction, whether standing or sitting. You're going to not make hard eye contact with them, but if they were to offer eye contact with you, you would be available. Be still and relaxed. So basically be still and relaxed and available to your dog, but no interaction. So they might jump at you, they might paw at you, they might bark at you. We are not responding to that. We're just gonna let them do whatever. And you're going to have your timer. And in the next slide, I'm gonna explain to you what you're gonna do with your timer. But you're generally gonna have the timer behind your back. And this is just because when you have something when you're holding something in front of your hand in this situation, a lot of dogs think that you have a treat in your hand, and that just kind of distracts them from it. But if you holding your hand behind your back is what your dog perceives to be, hey, I have a treat, then just feel free to hold your phone in front of you. And then just quickly, at the end of the game, your dog will get every single one of this treat, but not during, at the very end. So if we're good with that, I'm just going to move on to the next slide. And this is just what to expect during the game. So during the game, like I said, your dog is going to, the goal is for your dog to try to attempt each of the containers, but it's okay if they don't. It's going to last 2 minutes. So if in the 2 minutes they are obsessed with one container or they only go for two and then walk away, that's completely fine. We're still going to stay still. We're not going to interact with our dogs and until the 2 minute runs up, and I will time the 2 minutes for the entire game. So right, the timer. So what you're going to do with the timer is, in this game, our objective measure is the amount of time your dog looks at you. So what we're going to do is, with our timer, we're going to count up. So whenever your dog looks at you, we press start. Whenever your dog looks away, we press stop. And then we just keep doing this. So your dog can look away, you hit start, look at you, you hit start, look away, you hit stop. Maybe 5 seconds pass and your dog looks back at you, you hit start again. So then basically in the end, you're going to get the total time that your dog had looked at you in the entire game. So we're plainly just hitting start when your dog looks at you and stop when your dog looks away. And we keep doing that throughout the entire game to get the total amount of time. Does that make sense to everyone? Yep. And the game is a total of 2 minutes. So I will time the 2 minutes, starting from when your dog walks in. So if everyone is ready, or if anyone is playing along, either hold your dog or get ready to release your dog into this game. And I'm going to count down from 3. And on the count of 1, I am going to, I have to get my timer ready. I thought this was up. So I'm going to set my timer for 2 minutes. And I'm going to count down from 3. And on 1, I'm going to say go. And basically let your dog in or let your dog go. And have your timer ready to keep time of eye contact. So if we're all good, 3, 2, 1, go. So release your dog. Remember to be available. So if your dog wants to make eye contact with you, you want to be there for them. But other than that, we are not interacting with them. We're just kind of letting them go at their game, at their toys. And once again, if you are timing this, you are hitting start every time your dog makes eye contact with you. And then you're going to hit stop when they look away. We're not resetting our timers at any point. We're just going to keep kind of counting. I see Joy's pup. You can give them, if you haven't given them like the okay, or the okay to kind of go to containers, you can go ahead and just kind of go, look, and point at the containers. But if they're interested in it, just let them go. I do see a couple. So I see Giselle's dog is doing really good. Tiffany's dog is also doing good. Should I start spotlighting?
Yeah, Lasuna, if you want to spotlight and let others see who can play, go for it.
I'm actually gonna leave this up, yeah. So that's okay. So Giselle's dog walked away. That's totally fine. It's okay. You don't have to bring him back. So your dog, like I said, your dog can walk away in this, and that's totally fine. We have, hold on. We have Tiffany's dog. What's he doing, Pup Pup? So that's really good. So when your dog gets a little distracted, you can kind of point and redirect them back. And then, so get ready to stop. We have 5 seconds left. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, there you go. So stop your timer. So everyone, if you're keeping track, stop keeping track. Go ahead and open the hard container for your dog and let them get the treat. So we always want our dogs to get the treats at the end. And everyone looks like they did so good. Oh my gosh, hold on. I'm just gonna spotlight. I'm gonna spotlight Mary and Lola real quick because they're being super cute. But But thank you everyone who played along. So just quickly, so this game was 2 minutes. So just quickly, interpreting your results. First of all, does anyone kind of want to share what they got? So what is the total amount of time that your dog made eye contact with you in this 2 minute? You can actually just throw it in the chat. If anyone kept track, you could throw your results in the chat as you go along. So I have So I have my dog never looked at me. That's totally fine. We have less than a minute, 0.45 seconds, like a second, 7 seconds with 2 dogs. Interesting. So a lot of our dogs, what I'm getting is a lot of our dogs actually looked back at you for less than a minute, and that's actually really common for pet dogs, right? So if your dog looked at you for less than 1 minute, they have what we call a social problem solving strategy. And what a social problem solving strategy is that when they're faced with a difficult situation, what they do is they look to others for help. Whether in this case it's mostly another person. I'm actually really curious for the person who had 2 dogs if your dogs looked at each other. But social problem solving strategy is basically when your dog has trouble, they look to people for help. And at least with pet dogs, this has a lot to do with experience, right? So as pet dogs, we provide a lot for them. And this is very indicative of our relationship too with our dogs. Because we provide so much for them, they actually do kind of have this idea like, okay, like if I'm ever in need, I can depend on my human to help me with this. So in this case, the unsolvable condition, whenever they needed help with it, they will look back to us. And this is kind of compared to free ranging dogs and wolves who actually don't ever really look back at humans. Even if they do, it's like 1 second and it's probably incidental, to be honest, because there's someone standing there, so that's a little odd. So that is something that is really unique to pet dogs, and at least with shelter dogs, we don't really see this either. If you think about the environment, so environment was one of the factors that contributes to this. When shelter dogs are environments, or sorry, when shelter dogs are in their kennels, you have people walking back and forth from them, not really making eye contact with them. So in their case, they might not associate that eye contact with a form of communication. But luckily, as with experience, these shelter dogs do end up acting like pet dogs. So they end up realizing that this gaze is a communication type, and they could use this to ask for help, just like a pet dog. If your dog looked at you for less than a minute or not at all, they actually have an independent problem solving strategy. And basically, what this means is they're confident enough in their own abilities, or they trust themselves enough that they're just like, it's okay, like I got this. And you actually see a lot of this in working dogs and working breeds, and also agility trained dogs versus or breed matched trained dogs, or breed matched dogs who are not agility trained. So this training aspect does have a impact on your dog about whether or not they have the confidence to kind of go at this difficult task. So that's just another way that training can affect, once again, your dog's cognition and the way they decide to approach a problem. Cool. And I think this is all I have for you. Oh no, I did. So I will pass this off to Sonali unless I am forgetting something. But we're getting a lot of comments in the chat. I'm reading through them all. But Sonali, do you want to take over?
Yes. Thank you, Lasuna. So I can read off some of the comments while I pull off my slides. I thought it was really funny. I don't know if you guys were watching along. I was, to see what everyone was doing. I hope you guys were able to watch as well and see for the dogs that were playing. But this game is always really fun to watch because they do get really silly. And I know the first time I played with my dog, I do want to say, for the people whose dogs maybe walked away, Ella was not having any of it. She just thought it was ridiculous. But then we tried again at a different time of day, and she did actually cooperate. So if your dog just walked away or fell asleep, or, try it again later. As you saw, Lisuna was able to, she gave you the interpretation. So you could think about this later as well. I just wanted to mention that. But it was really, really cute to watch the folks that I see Allie's dog is carrying the containers away and destroying them, which is hilarious. That might be the continuation of her game for her. But yeah, I think we wanted to give you guys a sense for the types of games we play at Petminded, and just also this game is more of a assessment game. So this is telling you something about your dog. We play games also that can be enriching. So as Lasuna explained, you can continue to enhance their cognition over the life of a dog. And it doesn't matter what age they are, really, right? Like the more chances they get to practice these sorts of games, and it's mentally stimulating. And something I will say that I think sometimes I can be guilty of as well. We are at home a lot right now, but we are staring at screens. We're like on Netflix or Zoom calls. And so this is a way to really engage with them and to give them that mental stimulation. I will say that if you guys want to play more of these games, this is sort of a very condensed version of what we will be doing every Wednesday evening for the next 6 weeks. Lasuna has designed a bunch of these games for us to play, and we'll interpret them, and we'll be learning new things about our dogs. And, it should be fun to do. Yeah, and then we also have some scientists who will be speaking specifically about the results that Lasuna shared and sort of expanding on them, and not just, thinking about them in terms of one cognitive trait, but sort of what that means holistically for your dogs as well. Thank you for saying that. Just a comment from Frank saying that this has been a really fun week and that you guys will join us after the puppies. Yeah, we'd love to see the puppies when you get them. I can't imagine life with 2 lab puppies. So please do send us pictures when that happens, when you get them. But yeah, so if you guys are interested at all in the program, I think Tatiana is just going to drop in a link into the chat. So feel free to sign up and use the discount that's available. Tonight's the last night that we are offering a discount on the program, and we'd love to see as many of you possible. So if you're on the fence, just make sure you take advantage of the discount if you can. And yeah, if anyone has any questions, please let us know, or if you have any feedback or any thoughts about this week, I'll stop sharing my screen, and feel free to jump in and share what's on your mind. Oh, the puppies are called Cody and Rocky. Oh, those are such cute names. How did you pick that? That's adorable. And when did they get to you? Oh, I think he's typing it in. I thought you were unmuting. Does anyone have any other thoughts or questions before we close today? Well, if there's anything you guys want to share with each other, please feel free to, follow each other on Instagram, or follow us on Instagram and connect there. Allie, the cognition games that we are playing are actually designed by Lasuna. So she reads a ton of papers written by dog cognition researchers. And then these are actually games that they're using to play experiments in the labs. And she converts them into games that we can utilize, so they're a little bit more simplified. So I see that question is coming in from someone else as well. So I don't think these are widely available. That's kind of why we are offering the program, because the goal is that over time, this becomes like a more common thing that pet parents can do. I think there's a question here that says, if we can't attend the upcoming program. Right now, we don't have any plans to do another one. Frankly, it takes a lot of time and effort to put these together. We've been planning this for a few months. Lizuna and I have been working together since August, I think. So I don't know when we will do another one, but if you stay on our newsletter, it'll definitely get announced, for sure. Oh, and then I think, Lizuna, there is a question for you if you want to take it. It says, what if we have multiple dogs and one is super engaging while the others stay back and are not? The engaging one is aggressively seeking treats from containers.
Yeah, so for these games, I do recommend you play with one dog at a time. And by one dog, I do mean having the other dog either, if the kenneling is making them anxious, then I would just have them in a separate room, and then have one dog do it and then switch the dogs out. Just because when you do have two dogs, and then if they have personalities where one, really like hogs the game, for lack of a better word, then the other one is naturally going to stay back. And you want, in order to get the best out of these games for both your dogs, you do want them to give them the individual attention. And with these games in the labs, we actually do it just one dog at a time. Just I mean, mainly because science, you can't have like all these other factors in, but also because we want each dog to really have like that full experience of the game and like have them without like all these other things like distracting them. But yeah, I would suggest take turns.
Oh, so we have someone who has a hand up. If you want to unmute yourself, Mary, and ask the question, please go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to say, I think it was such a great week. I love the topics because they were just so different than what we normally, I guess, as pet parents or pet owners come across. I thought Dr. Chavez was especially like that was really, really incredible what he had to say about what they were eating and whatnot. So and also Lizuna tonight, the cognition, like that is, it's just so important. So I really commend you, Sonali, and your team. It was amazing. I can't say enough.
Thank you so much. That means a lot. I think I've said this once or twice. It's really hard to put these together because we don't know how people will respond. So it's really encouraging to hear that you enjoyed it and you found it valuable. And I do agree. I think in the pet parent community, we need to have more of these conversations because it's so like the community is so lovely, but we do talk about, a lot of other things, but we don't talk about science as much. So I'm really hoping that we can also gather you guys again and meet again and talk about more of this stuff in the future. We'd love to do that. So,
Sonali, I just want to say that the reason I found you was through Just Food for Dogs.
Oh, that's amazing.
That was the greatest thing that has ever happened to me. And I want to say also that I don't want to be a proponent or anything, but I just want to say that today I found out that Just Food for Dogs is also making a shelf life food. I don't know how many people know about it, but I think it was just brought out today for people who don't want to have like frozen food. And
yeah.
I mean, it's such, because we live on the East Coast and so much of what's going on in the dog food products that are so good for dogs is on the West Coast. And it just became available for us on the East Coast. We live in Florida and we don't have a lot of choices.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been cooking for our dogs and this gives us a bigger benefit. And, it's just amazing that because of Just Food for Dogs, we found you and we've been opened up to so many horizons that have given us the ability to learn so much. And I just want to applaud you for what you have opened our eyes to. And we're so gracious. We're so thankful. And
thank you so much.
We're going into, I just want to say we're going into probably the last dogs we'll ever have in our lives. And it's a really big deal for us. We're, going into our 70s and having dogs that might live to be 13 or 14. is a big step
Yeah.
for us. And we want to applaud all of you people who are doing the best you can for dogs. And we just love you guys. And thank you for everything you're sharing with us.
Oh, thank you for saying that. You're making me cry.
Don't cry, don't cry. We love
I
dogs.
I just love meeting other dog people. It's such a lovely community, and it's such a great group to be part of. So thank you for
We
sharing
can't
all
wait
those.
to share the puppies when we get them. I mean, we
Yes.
just can't wait.
And 2 lab puppies are going to be a handful.
Oh, but we know,
yeah.
you know.
No,
we
it will be amazing.
have 12 grandchildren. What can lab puppies do?
There you go. Well, thank you so much for coming. And yes, I will tell Dr. Chavez, I actually sent all of the speakers some of the notes from the chats and the emails. And I will say, I think they all just feel so touched, because when you're executives at these companies, I don't think you really get to hear directly in that manner. So I can tell they're all very touched to be able to hear directly from all of you. So thank you for that. And yeah, and thank you for all the nice comments, everyone. This is very touching, and it feels very worthwhile to be able to do this. So, please stay in touch. You have my email.
Yeah, that's okay.
And even if, we don't see you in the program next week, just please find us in, through our newsletter, and come to other meetups, and we'd love to have you. So thank you so much. And I just also want to say very quickly, thank you to Tatiana. She's sort of been behind the scenes, but she's here. She's been helping. Petminded is a very small team. I'm like the full-time person, and then Lasuna and Tatiana give their time as well. And I really appreciate both of them for participating and being here and putting this together for you. So thank you very much, both of you, for being there and pulling this off. Okay, I think with that, we'll close things out. But yeah, like I said, please stay in touch, everyone, and have an amazing weekend. And we'd love to see you all very soon. Bye.